Hey everybody, Joe Conkley in the shop. Today I'm here with my good friend and workmate Drew Howard. We've got a trio of really cool vintage Martin guitars that we're going to look at today. They're all in the shop for some fine tuning, and it's just interesting to have a grouping like this of three very cool guitars. First off, we have this 1937 00018, a really fine example of that model and year. Played, but well-loved guitar, and really in great shape, considering basically crack-free. But it does have a modified bridge, and it has had the neck reset, and the frets are fairly worn and have been leveled a number of times, but it is here to just sort of push the envelope a little further. We are going to install a new vintage reproduction bridge from T.J. Thompson. This bridge, while is a quite serviceable bridge, it is not a vintage reproduction as far as things go. The frets have been leveled a number of times, so they are fairly low. We're going to put some new frets in it, but the neck has been reset, and like I said, it is relatively crack-free. Drew, what do you think of this beauty?
Wow.
It's a very light guitar. Very light guitar, as those tend to be. The mahogany is just featherweight. Sounds pretty nice, but I think a new set of frets, and we will fine-tune the action and everything, and that thing's going to be right in the zone. With it, we have its partner, a 1937 D18. So 000 and D-size 18 style guitars, both from the same year. Very cool. This one is a very similar guitar in that it is, I was going to say relatively crack-free, but let me look at it, and I think it's pretty safe to say it is totally crack-free. Same sort of guitar in that the neck has been reset, the bridge has been replaced, it's been, the frets have been leveled numerous times so that they are fairly low. They both have, flip that over, let's look at these tuners here, the back side here. They both have, very similar styled tuners from the same year, original tuners. The Grover open back tuners with the geared screw holding the gear down, the oval metal buttons, and on the front side, the hexagonal bushings. You'll notice the beautiful gold script Martin logo in its earlier style, rather thin font with a little black edge around it, and very similar in many ways. The beautiful brownish tortoise plastic pick guard, and there it is, a pair of 37s. So I mentioned they're both here to be fine-tuned, and the owner has provided me with all kinds of other cool little things to a pair of original style bridge pins and end pins from the folks at Antique Acoustics. Some lovely elephant ivory nut and saddle blanks. And as I mentioned, the T.J. Thompson vintage bridges from 30 style vintage bridges for both guitars. And that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing. Refret and installing the new bridges. So there are these two beauties. And in contrast, we have our third subject. 1926 0028. Beautiful Brazilian rosewood, slotted headstock, beautiful open geared tuners with small engravings on the plate. No logo on the front, but it has the C.F. Martin stamp in the back of the peg head. This guitar, being slightly older, from 1926, has the original style bar frets in it. And the neck has been reset on this one and is relatively crack-free. Has a new pickguard on it, but it is a very cool tortoiseshell plastic, a little bit redder. Previously repaired top seam crack. It has a beautifully repaired side crack right here, the crack that ran about 6-8 inches from here to here, and just the crack itself is beautifully repaired, and a nice touch-up job there where it's a little, without knowledge of that crack, it's a little hard to see, just because the finished touch-up blends well with the rest of the just vintage look of the rest of the original finish. But this happens to be, at the moment, until we do these repairs, my favorite because of the way it sounds. And just a super meaty, dry mid-range. The D and G strings in particular just leap out at you. Sounds great, as they all do, and all will. Interesting thing with this is the repairs we're looking at to do. The treble side of the fretboard and the top fret surfaces is pretty straight with a minimal amount of relief, but then it changes. There's a slightly bigger amount of relief on the bass side, particularly right here in the middle, say from 3 to 9, and it makes it a little difficult to play in that area, and could be better to play overall playing better. One of the interesting things with bar frets is I can manipulate that relief in the neck a little easier with a compression refret, to the point I don't have to refret the whole thing for this to work, because the tang of a T-style fret, which the 37s have, is around 25 thousandths wide, and that's the little part that goes down into the fretboard there. The bar frets are between 40 and 50 thousandths wide, so easily twice as big. And with that extra width, my plan is to pull some of the frets here in the 5 to 7th fret area. I'm going to start with one at a time. I'll probably, pull one fret, get a new piece of bar fret wire, and probably what I'll do is start with a slight taper to the thickness of that fret. So I will put the same size fret in the treble side and taper that fret in thickness to the bass side to try and compress and straighten out the bass side of the fretboard. Although part of that bow that we're seeing in the fretboard is from the fret height itself. There's a fairly even bow in the fingerboard, which I looked at with our Stewart McDonald notch straight edges. Although it does have that difference from treble to bass, it is not as pronounced. So part of the problem in that is the fret height, and that is one of the challenges with bar frets, where you have to set the fret height yourself by how deep the slot is and how deep the fret goes into that slot, and how much meat on the fret is left up top, which you have to shave down. So a T fret is usually starts out life around 40 thousandths tall. The bar frets can be as tall as 50 thousandths, but you have to, again, you can shave off material till you get that correct fret height. So I'm going to be manipulating both the width of the fret as it goes in and the size, and try to take care of that difference in relief from treble to bass on that by changing a few frets, as few as possible, to get a little bit more compression on that bass side, bend that fretboard back, and just get an ideal amount of relief. And that is the challenge for me with all three of these guitars, where they're all pretty darn close, and actually, obviously quite playable already. And but I just have to tweak all these fairly minor changes, but they're going to make a big difference in the feel, and they will also affect the tone in a positive way. A compression refret can strengthen the neck and allow it to have the ideal amount of relief, but it also makes the neck really solid and rigid, so that it acts as a reflector of tone rather than an absorber of tone. It reflects those vibrations back into the neck and down into the body. It can really make a big difference for how the body reacts with that tone. There you have it. Thanks for tuning in today, folks. That wraps up our In the Shop session. Drew's going to send us out with a little tune on the 1926 0028 guitar. Thanks, and we'll see you soon.